Look up at the night sky. For millennia, our ancestors did the same. But something changed. A new kind of thought flickered to life. It was more than just instinct. It was curiosity. Humans began to ask questions. Why does the sun rise? What are those points of light in the darkness? This was the dawn of a new kind of intelligence on our small world. It wasn't just about finding food or avoiding predators. It was about understanding the universe itself. This spark separated us from every other creature on the planet, setting us on a cosmic journey of discovery. What was this spark? It was the ability to think in the abstract. An animal sees a rock, a human sees a tool. A sharp edge could be used to cut. A heavy stone could be used to build. Our ancestors looked at their hands and saw potential. They looked at the world and saw possibilities. This was the beginning of technology. From the first sharpened flint spear to the controlled use of fire, each step was a leap for the human mind. We were no longer just living in the world. We were starting to shape it to our will, a power that would grow with every generation. This new intelligence needed a way to be shared. It wasn't enough for one person to have a brilliant idea. That idea needed to travel. It had to pass from one mind to another, from a parent to a child, from a hunter to a friend. Language was born. At first it was simple sounds and gestures, but it grew more complex. We developed words for things we couldn't see, like love, or bravery, or tomorrow. We could tell stories. We could share warnings. We could plan for the future. Language allowed us to build a collective intelligence, a shared mind greater than any single individual. With stories came history. Our ancestors painted on cave walls. They drew the animals they hunted and the stars they watched. These were the first records. They were messages sent across time. A handprint on a stone wall says, "I was here. I existed." These simple images were the first steps toward a permanent memory for our species. They were the seeds of writing, a technology that would fundamentally change how humanity learns and grows. This was our first attempt to defeat the great silence of time, to ensure our thoughts and experiences would live on long after we were gone. As human societies grew, so did our need for knowledge. We built great cities in places like Mesopotamia and Egypt. Farming required us to track the seasons. Building monuments required mathematics and engineering. Governing a kingdom required laws and records. The human brain, as amazing as it is, can only hold so much information. We needed a better way to store our collective thoughts. We needed to write things down. This led to one of the most powerful inventions in human history: writing. It started with simple pictures, but it evolved into complex symbols representing sounds and ideas. Imagine a world without books. That was the reality for almost all of human history. Knowledge was precious, and it was fragile. In ancient civilizations, information was inscribed on heavy clay tablets or delicate papyrus scrolls. Scribes were the keepers of this knowledge. These were highly trained specialists who spent their lives painstakingly copying texts by hand. A single book could take months or even years to create. Libraries, like the Great Library of Alexandria, were not just buildings with shelves. They were cosmic lighthouses, holding the accumulated wisdom of entire civilizations. Their destruction was a catastrophic loss for all of humanity. With writing, ideas could travel across vast distances and survive for centuries. A philosopher in Greece could have a conversation with a mathematician in Egypt, even if they never met. Laws could be made permanent and fair for everyone, not just subject to the memory of a king. A single powerful idea could be copied and spread, changing the world one scroll at a time. This was a revolution in how intelligence was shared. It was no longer trapped inside a single person's head. It was now a physical thing that could be preserved, studied, and built upon by future generations. This new ability to store information allowed for incredible intellectual leaps. The ancient Greeks could study the geometry of Euclid. They could debate the philosophy of Plato. They could learn from the histories of Herodotus. They built their incredible understanding of the world on the foundations laid by earlier civilizations, all because that knowledge had been written down. This process of building on the past is the engine of progress. Each generation doesn't have to rediscover fire. They can read about it, learn from it, and then spend their time discovering something new, pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human. For thousands of years, knowledge remained in the hands of the few. Books were rare and expensive treasures, copied by hand, one letter at a time. A library might hold only a few hundred scrolls. A single book could cost as much as a house. This meant that learning was a privilege for the rich and powerful. The vast majority of humanity lived and died without ever learning to read. The great cosmic conversation was happening, but most people couldn't hear it. The collective intelligence of our species was being held back, waiting for a breakthrough that would unlock its full potential. Then, in the 15th century, came a machine that changed everything. Johannes Gutenberg's printing press was a revolution. It combined existing technologies to allow for the mass production of text. Suddenly, a book that took a year to copy by hand could be printed in hundreds or thousands of copies in a matter of weeks. The cost of books plummeted. Information was no longer a rare commodity. It was something that could be shared with everyone. The printing press didn't just print books, it printed a new future for human intelligence. It was a machine for democratizing knowledge. The effect was like a supernova. Ideas spread across Europe like wildfire. The scientific revolution, the Enlightenment, political revolutions, all were fueled by the printed word. Scientists like Galileo and Newton could share their discoveries with a wide audience, allowing others to test and build upon their work. Philosophers could share their ideas about government and human rights, inspiring people to demand change. For the first time, a farmer's child could learn to read and have access to the same ideas as a prince. The gates of knowledge were thrown open for all. This flood of information created a new challenge: how to organize it all. Public libraries began to appear, creating spaces where anyone could come to learn. Encyclopedias were written to try and summarize all human knowledge in one place. Universities transformed from small religious schools into great centers of research and learning. We were creating new systems to manage the explosion of information we had unleashed. We were building an infrastructure for intelligence, a network of people and places dedicated to understanding the cosmos and our place within it. The journey of our collective mind was accelerating. The 20th century brought another monumental shift. We created machines that could think, in a way. The first computers were enormous, room-sized contraptions, solving complex mathematical problems faster than any human ever could. These electronic brains were the next step in our quest to augment our own intelligence. Just as a lever allows us to lift more than our muscles can, a computer allows us to process more information than our minds can. We were outsourcing some of our thinking to silicon chips, unlocking new possibilities in science, engineering, and communication. Then came the internet. This was not just a new way to share information, it was a new dimension for human consciousness. Suddenly, the entire library of human knowledge was available at our fingertips. A student in a small village could access the same lectures as a student at a top university. A scientist in one country could collaborate in real time with a team on the other side of the planet. We connected billions of minds into a single global network. It was as if our species had developed a planetary brain, a collective intelligence that was thinking, learning, and creating 24 hours a day. And now, we stand at the edge of another new dawn. Artificial intelligence. AI is not just a tool for processing information. It's a tool for generating new ideas. It can write poetry, compose music, discover scientific patterns, and solve problems that have stumped humans for decades. We are teaching machines to learn in the same way we do, by observing the world and looking for patterns. This partnership between human and artificial intelligence represents the next great leap in our cosmic journey. We are no longer just the only intelligent beings we know of. We are becoming the creators of new kinds of intelligence. So, where does this journey lead? From the first spark of curiosity around a campfire to a globally connected network of human and artificial minds, the evolution of our intelligence is a story of constant expansion. Each step, language, writing, printing, computing, has allowed us to think bigger, learn faster, and solve greater challenges. What comes next? Will we merge our minds with machines? Will we discover other intelligences out there among the stars? We don't know. But the journey of the human mind is far from over. The cosmos awaits.